Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Collective Bargaining Podcast. We are live a bit early tonight because of the daylight savings. You're going to notice a different face, of course, but we are in it to win it. The show must go on. Shout out to my co host who is not with us right now. On the show, though, we have Leron Blestill, a
What's up? What's
Brooklyn
up?
Nets fan.
No. Not at all. Not at all. Try the other team in New York.
The Knicks, right? The
Knicks.
infamous Knicks, the infamous
Yeah.
Knicks. I mean, you've mentioned that you wanted to be on a show to address, the Knicks for a while now, right? We've
Yes.
the Knicks have received a lot of hate from me. I will openly say that, even though I think they
Yes.
deserve it, right? But glad to have you on the show. I know you're gonna have a lot to say about the Knicks and other teams. I'm
Yeah.
actually interested in hearing what you think about the playoff picture right now, and a few other things to note. Who you think should be MVP? Who you think is the actual best team in the NBA? I know you've
Yeah.
been studying a lot of player stats because of fantasy. You're having a good fantasy season as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yes.
that I know of. So
Crunch
so you
time now,
wanna
though.
so I know your knowledge on some of the players is gonna be, through the roof pretty much because
Yeah.
of studying their stats. So tell us, man, how's the NBA season been for you? Since now we're, moving into that mature stage, the final quarter of the regular season, pretty much at this stage.
Um, I think there's still some shaking out going on. Um, some the teams that we expected to be there from the start of the season. Some of them are. The Warriors are still in transition. They're just getting Draymond Green back.
Right.
So, there's a lot to watch there. The Suns are still doing what they do, and the Bucks are quietly imposing their will in the East as well. They're not
Right.
getting talked about a lot. But the teams that we expected to dominate, like the Lakers, with how many years of experience between all of the
Yeah.
former All Stars, former Defensive Players of the Year, goats, Hall of Famers. We expected more, and it's a little bit disappointing to see how it's kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest disappointment, I think, for me.
Right.
Almost as disappointing as the Knicks, just to see like if there was a sadder team than the Knicks, for me, it would be the Lakers right now.
Right.
So
Y- Yeah, it's
you know,
it's 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 pretty disappointing. Now, another team that a shout out to Mike. Hey, see you passing through. Good to have you in the comments, bro. We are live, hanging in there, while the MVP is out. So,
yeah.
just doing what we got to do. I know he's a happy guy. Thank God he's not on the show gloating right now. You know why? Because his boy Kyrie has like 60 points
No.
right now with 6 minutes
Wow.
left still in the fourth.
Wow.
Now, I just want to say before we continue, he should not be in the game
I need to
right
see
now.
that.
It's garbage time. You're up by 41 points, right?
Yeah.
Why are you in the game? Why risk an injury to
They
such
might
a
be
great player, right?
are they making a
This is
statement?
stat,
Is that it?
and I've heard him say it before, but this is ultimately stat padding, ladies and gentlemen. This is stat padding. Okay, you have 60, you're up by 40, you
Yeah.
know, 42, the lead's increasing. You don't need to be in there. Get out of there. So we'll see where this goes, of course. I know some of his fans are saying, yeah, score, score, score. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. Um, he can't play at home, so he's making a statement. Right.
I
That
think that comment is right.
that's
That's
I
how I
mean
feel.
it's that's their
Yeah.
excuse for stat padding, that's their excuse for stat padding. But to be honest with you, I think they should pull him out the game. Don't risk the injury. You have like what, 19, just a handful of games before we get in. It's 2 more weeks until the playoffs, three
Yeah.
more weeks. Let's ease up on the gas. You don't need to showboat on one of the weakest teams in the
And
league.
against the poor Magic.
Yeah, this is the Magic, man. This is not Toronto that Kobe was scoring on. This is not a tight game. This nobody's gonna
Yeah.
respect this 60 points, man. Come on, man. Come on, come on, come on. That's like one of those high school scores where you see a team running it up like 70, points, and they suspend the coach after because of the damage done mentally to those kids. Come on, this is Orlando, man. I mean, come on. We probably as a Grenadian team could have more points up on the board right now than Orlando, right? So
I'm not gonna go all the way there because I got two bum knees. I'm not gonna.
Ah. But I mean, come on, man. Come on, come on. You got to take Kyrie out to the game, man. This is horrible stuff, man. Hopefully we see the sub made. This is if he goes beyond this
Need to.
point,
They need to.
it's not respectable.
Yeah.
Should have They should have closed it off in a third. Okay, he doesn't need to be in there right now. This is a weak team. If it's a close game, then yeah, I would say obviously you keep it in there to get the win. But at this stage, come on, man, come on,
Yeah.
60, come on. There's 60 and there's 60, in a respectable game. And right now, I have some question marks pertaining to this 60. You're up 141 to 102.
I
You got
know.
60 points on the board. You've played 35 minutes. That's excellent. Time to come out of the game. That's the way it is. So, right. So, but no. I know a lot of his fans are probably clamoring. Let's score a little bit. Let's get to 71, which is possible. I mean, it's 5 minutes of the game. But he would have to go hard. At this point, and the
That's what I'm
critics
saying.
are gonna.
The only reason to stay in is if you want to eclipse some other record.
It's not every day you
What
get
is there?
41 at the
Yeah.
half, man. Yeah, it's
Right,
not every day
right.
you do that, right? So, yeah. I mean, he could get to arguably he could get 10 points up on the board there and take it to 70,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think people are kind of like, you know what? Let's just savor this because he's gonna need to go crazy in the playoffs for us, even if he can't play
Yeah.
at home. So let me ask you about your Knicks. So I think everyone started off by saying that, the Knicks showed potential. We started the season.
Let me get my Knicks merch.
You
Put on
know,
my
we
Knicks hat.
we started the season with, I think the Knicks started like 5-1, 6-1,
Yeah.
with that record, and just fell off the face of the planet. It's to a point right now. You've won 28 games. You're well out
Mhm.
of the playoff position at this stage. You know, to me, what is it about the Knicks you think
So
is
much,
is
so
not
much.
working? Or is it just based on your comment? I think you're going with the angle that it's multiple things, right? Um,
Yeah, it's multiple things. Number one, there's a lot of expectations from New York, the fans, the media, put on the Knicks, especially on Julius Randle. I
Right.
think so. One of the major reasons is Julius Randle taking a step back in terms of efficiency and decision making. Efficiency in terms of his 3-point shot has dropped about 10% from 41 to just over, I think it's 31 or 30%.
wow.
Um,
That's his
in the
field
beginning
goal
of
percentage.
no, that's his 3-point shot.
3-point shot. Wow.
Yeah, that
Wow.
allows the team to be spaced.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when he can't make those shots,
That's right.
you get a lot of stagnation, and they pretty much, I call it the Giannis. I don't want to say Giannis defense anymore because
Yeah.
Giannis is making these shots now. But so that's one problem. The second problem that the Knicks have overall is execution in the fourth quarter.
Right.
So in the last 5 minutes of the game, a lot of these games they were close, especially when you don't have someone like Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose knows how to finish games.
Yeah.
And we talk about clutch shooters in the NBA. What does that really mean?
Right.
To me, in my opinion, a clutch shooter is someone who is very consistent at shots. Like they have certain shots that they can pick a shot that is going to be a very consistent shot, over 60% expected to go in at any point in the game. If they want to get a bucket, they know what shot they're gonna get.
Yeah. They know that
You look
position
at
on the floor.
KD is especially KD, LaMarcus Aldridge as someone that used to do that. Like if you want a bucket, you put LaMarcus Aldridge on the elbow,
Top of the key. Right.
and
Yeah,
he shoots that ball.
Yeah. It's money.
Tim Duncan is same thing,
Money.
elbow.
Money.
KD's a little running jumper that he
Yeah.
does, like a step to
Yeah.
the side jumper.
Hmm.
So these guys, LeBron is straight to the hole.
Yeah.
So at the end of the games, you see those guys doing that. But the Knicks have not learned how to do this.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, you're going to see a lot of stagnation. You're going to see Randall trying to dribble the ball into two defenders. You're going to see turnovers.
Yeah.
So they really don't have a plan. What they need to do is figure out what's their go-to moves and who's going to do it.
Right.
And also, um, if you don't have that, then you need to, what got you to that point where you're tied? Like they had a game just the other night. They tied the game.
Yeah.
There was 15 seconds to go and they tied the game.
And then they
And
fell
then they
off.
just couldn't execute in the last 15
Yeah.
seconds to, this is the Nets game. They
Yeah.
came back. They tied that game. They played very well in the second half. So I watched it. I'm like, the difference was being clutch, meaning being consistent right at the end of the game
Right.
and making good decisions. Like that's something lacking that I think we lost with Derrick Rose. So
Yeah. What's puzzling is this, right? Because you have a situation where an NBA team at this level should be executing those things, right? Should
yeah,
know. They should have knowledge, especially when you have a top-rated coach. Even if they're defensive minded, right? You have staff working on, okay, late game situations. If we have certain plays, who's going to execute it? If the defense collapses on our star, who's supposed to be our star, we have other plays that can supplement that play that we could call live action for on the floor. And the mere fact that they haven't been able to, maintain a lead, when they're up and, without collapsing, it's something about that pressure. Or, they haven't been able to, uh, you know, after climbing back into a game,
yeah.
maintain that composure to go on to get the stop and to win the game. That shows that there are multiple issues, right? It means that to me, with the Knicks, it's a cultural issue, which I thought it looked for a while that they were getting over it,
Mhm.
and then Randall hit like what I would consider to be a wall.
It's a wall. It's a wall for
Yes,
sure.
it's a wall. It's like
Yeah.
writer's block, right? Artistic block, where you whatever art that you're into, it just blocks your ability to execute at
I
the
just
highest level. I
I
have
just want to say
never
his
seen.
his assists and rebounding, it's still there. It's the decision making on the scoring that's the block. Like
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
he's thinking what to do. You know.
which is one of the most critical elements of your game, right? Because
Yeah.
it at the end of the day, once you get to the point of releasing a shot, mechanics, that's something that you practice for. You as an NBA player, I'm sure many of them should be able to execute their shots because it's muscle memory,
Yeah, for
right? They
sure.
practice thousands on thousands every day. But it's the IQ side, the mental capacity to be strong enough to take the bashing from the fans, to face the crowd and to execute still regardless of all of that tunnel vision, you know um dropping your heart rate when it's really time, like the big stars do. It's almost like they time slows down for the big boys.
Yes.
They're able to just get to their spot, as you were calling it, and do the things that they need to do. But we're just not seeing that with Randall. And maybe it's kind of flooded into the rest of I don't know, the team itself. I don't know if that's what's happening. Um now, I think Mike was saying that Kyrie just made the Nets single game record, which is 60.
Yeah, I know he was going for something.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
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 What
Those guys
was
know. They know that.
okay? Yeah. Now, the Knicks record is owned by Melo, right? That's 62 he had, I
Yes,
think.
Melo came and took it back from Kobe.
Okay, that's at MSG.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, okay. No, that's interesting that he did that. Yeah. So, it's so I would say, we're coming to a point, as we discussed before, where the season is mature, right? Um, your best team so far that you've seen playing would be what team?
Wow. Um,
And of
that's
course,
really
this
tough.
this is fully. I know that there's been a lot of spurts, to be honest.
Spurts. Yeah. Yeah.
From different teams. It's one
Yeah.
of those seasons. It's almost like a college basketball season in a way. It's almost like Golden State started off by having the best defensive efficiency, best offensive rating, and they
Yeah.
were hot. At some point, we thought they were going to run away with it again, and then it slowed down. Steph slowed down on the scoring, and then the Heat cooled off. You know,
Yes.
um, and then uh, we saw the Grizzlies take off as well, doing
I
well.
love those. I love the
We
Grizzlies. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw the Suns playing consistent system basketball, right?
Yeah.
Um, so in your mind, when you look at all of this, right, and you see the Bulls even playing some good games as well,
Love the Bulls.
the Bucks started taking off. So I'd say the top three in every conference have
That I
had
can give
these
you.
little, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, they've had their time. But I would ask you the question, if you had to pick one of them from which you think overall is having the best season, who would you go with in terms of
Well,
that?
the question is, are you considering injuries? Because there's some of those teams have one
Yeah,
key piece
very true.
that's not there.
Very true. Very true.
So, are you considering? Is it as of right now,
Just as a
or is it just
team.
overall as a
So,
team?
yeah, as a team, as a team.
I
So,
think for me, I can give you two. So in the West, the Warriors and the Suns are the two best playing teams I've seen in terms of like both sides of the ball.
right, right.
And for the East, the Bucks in terms of how deep they are and how like pressure cooked they are in terms of like Drew Holiday
Yeah,
defensively, especially in the playoffs.
yeah,
Playoffs is about you're feeling that pressure. All, very quickly you can have like three turnovers. Those
absolutely.
guys are the ones that do it.
Absolutely.
Like the Drew Holiday and the Giannis,
Yeah, yeah,
the crazy eyes Bobby Portis,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Brooke Lopez. They just got Brooke Lopez back last night
It's a full
for the
team.
first time for the whole season.
Full team, man.
That guy was averaging 2 blocks a game last
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
So they're warming him up for the. So that team is still my favorite in the East. That's
You
even
know,
without seeing Ben Simmons.
you
And I have
know,
the next second.
you know what's crazy about Giannis right now is the
Yeah.
fact that he is only playing, I think, 32 minutes a game, doing what he's doing. He's tied for second, I think, in scoring in the league, and
Yeah.
is nowhere near the top in terms of minutes played. The same is for Embiid. I think Embiid is like 33 minutes or something along those lines. But it just shows these guys are at a point right now.
Yeah.
And funny enough, right? Uh, we ask the question, who's the best player, right? I think we'll get to that. I'll answer the question on my opinion on the team. I think it's the Suns because of the fact that they've had Booker missing, they've had CP3 who is still out,
Yeah.
and they've still played elite basketball. They've won the games that they're supposed to win. It tells me that they're finding that system level basketball where it doesn't matter who you plug in, what they're executing at the highest level of the game.
That's right.
And I think maybe you could say the Warriors have been more affected because of Draymond, and that concerns me a bit because it the Suns haven't shown that susceptibility to injury. They kept playing even though Booker and CP3 are out, but
Right.
Booker's back, of course. But but with the Warriors, one player, and I hear the fans from the Golden State Warriors saying, "Well, we have Draymond out." So that raises some questions. That's why I would select the Suns, in my opinion. Now, with
Yes.
with the best player, right, for the season so far, from you looking on, who would you say is the league's best player right now?
All right. I gotta take off my Knicks hat for this because I don't want to be biased.
Let's hear this one.
Um, best player overall, to me, it has to be. This is real. It's really tough, but it has to be Embiid for me. If I had
Okay,
to pick a choice,
that's a respectable choice too.
yeah.
That's a very respectable
I
choice.
mean, as you said, it 5 names popped into my head, but
Yeah,
for a variety of reasons, it has to be Embiid.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's I want to say it's a question that can sometimes be trivial, right? Because um, you look at Embiid's impact on the game, and I have questions. His skill level is up there. I think that's what makes him one of the best in the league. As a big man, he's probably the best big man in the league, right? Um, Jokic is up there too.
Yeah,
But I
of
look
course.
at I look at past dominant, absolutely dominant players. Even though they were on weaker teams, they during their peak of their powers, they were still like hammering teams because they just could not be stopped. And I just don't see that same impact in these guys right now.
Mm,
So for example, the reason why LeBron is not the best player in the league is it because of how he plays? I don't think so. I think it's more along the lines of his age slowing him down you know but you look at when he was dominant, you look at when Jordan was dominant, you look at when Kobe was dominant, or a Tracy McGrady. When they're on the floor executing, it's so hard to stop them that they and it doesn't matter sometimes with the players around them, they're still able to dominate these games. I mean, maybe it's just the NBA as it is today, but for me, definitely I would say Embiid is up there. I would say Steph is up there, but he's very streaky sometimes with his impact again. Um, it's one of those things where it's really spread out. You have KD in the mix, but can I outright say he's the best in the NBA right now? I can't. I don't think so. So it's really spread out.
do
And
you know what that tells you?
yeah,
That tells you we're in a good age of basketball.
I think so. I think so. I have to agree
This
with
is a
that. I have
variety
to
of
agree
guys
with
for
that.
different
It's a
reasons, you
right.
know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's and that will bring parity to the game too.
Yes.
Where right now I couldn't tell you with absolute certainty who's going to win the title. I couldn't tell you that. You
Right.
know, there are a lot of teams that could beat other teams in the league.
Yeah.
And I love that. You don't know who Ja Morant is going to go off on for 50 in the playoffs.
Anyone.
Um, Anyone,
Yeah. And
you
he's
don't
young.
know if CP3 will get injured again in the playoffs. He's gotten
Yeah.
injured for the last few playoffs, right? So,
Yeah.
you don't know how good the Jazz are really going to come in.
Yeah.
I don't see the Nuggets going past the second round. But I just don't think they have enough offensive firepower. And especially
Yeah.
with Murray out, and his recovery hasn't been that fast. So, there's that. Um, it's going to be interesting in that sense. It's going to be interesting in the sense that, now we have parity. Who's really going to be up there? You know, um,
But
so
there's a difference between best player and MVP.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
big time, big time, big time. MVP. So let me ask you, who's the MVP right now for you in the league?
yeah, so MVP for me has to be statistical statistical ability across at least four areas. You need to be top 10 in at least four statistical categories, probably top five in three. And your team needs to be in the top three in the conference
Right.
by the time the votes get in. And because that is how they determine the MVP. You could have the best stats. Like look at Carl Anthony Towns, man, grinding away. You got best stats, but if your team is not in the top three in your conference, you will never be MVP.
Right.
So it has to be, that has to be. So for me, and you have to have had is 82 games in a season. You need to play at least 72. I give you 10 games to play with. Like you saw last year, Embiid played way too little games, but he was still in the top three for MVP voting. So you got to watch that. You have to play most of the games, and that's one thing he did this year. So that's why Embiid for MVP for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think he's up there. But I think, and that's the thing, right? You have it's narrative based, and he has a lot going for him. He has Harden now. That's gonna keep them in the mix, especially for the top of the East.
Yeah.
They have the question is, will they end the season with a better record than the Nuggets? Because to me, the race right now is between Embiid and Jokic. right? I have Jokic.
Mm,
I had Jokic with a slight edge, but I think, when you look at what Embiid is doing, especially with the minutes he's playing, it's really hard to argue against that. But Jokic is all over the floor, man. It's just incredible to see what he's doing there in that department. So it's a tough call, but I could respect either one of them, being up there. To be honest,
yeah.
um, it there's a lot of questions there. So let me take you to a segment where we get to rate players. As we're talking about good players, etc., I think you've seen this before in one of our segments. So right now we have a list here, our scale, right? This is how
Okay.
we rate players here in this podcast. On this podcast, we have top 5 ever. So there's not many that can go into that. Only 5 players, arguably. So get your top 5 in your mind together, because those are the only ones that could go in there.
Mm.
You have best of era, right? You have superstar, star, all-star, exceptional talent, NBA player, G League, should not be in the league, doesn't know basketball. All right, which is the absolute lowest. Um, so I'm gonna name a player for you, and you're gonna
Well,
tell me where
I have a question. What is the difference between a star and an all-star?
a star and an all-star. So all-star, you have players that make the all-star team,
Okay,
right? Um, that are playing at that level where it's deserving of a nod
gotcha.
to that level.
All right,
And keep
say
in
no more.
mind, an
Say no more.
all-star,
I
you
got
have
that. Yeah.
people that have been voted in by coaches, so they're not
Right.
necessarily stars, so to speak.
Yeah.
Stars where you're entering the conversation of, where you're above that, you're
And
you're
perennial. Gotta at
selected
least be
into
perennial.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, as a star, you're yeah, you're up there. you know some people transition through that phase, and so that's what we would consider a star. So for example, I'll give you the name of a star right now. Jaylen Brown is what I consider a star. He's not necessarily a superstar in the league, but he's considered a star. Just and you could argue he's borderline all-star, right? In that category, in that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum would be probably a star, but you could argue he's a superstar based on the way people rate his game, the fans that he has. He has the jersey sales, he has all of that stuff going for him. But overall, game wise, you could say he's borderline a superstar at this point, right?
Okay.
So along those lines,
I don't disagree with any of those two. So
yep. So what I will say right now is we'll dive into the first player on the board that I have for you. His name is Desmond Bain.
mm,
He plays for the Memphis Grizzlies.
yep.
Where would you rate him?
Exceptional talent.
That you know what? I think
When you
that's
when
where he
you
would belong. I
yeah,
believe that's where he would belong. Um,
yeah.
Definitely exceptional talent. He has a lot of potential. And I think definitely you could be looking at a future rise in his stock.
Into all
You
star,
know,
you can get a nod one day, but still young in the game, has an exceptional shooting, like a really good form for shooting. Expect to see him in
right?
3-point competition again. Muscular body, fast, defensive, but I wouldn't say all star yet. Um, there's still a lot of things like coming off the dribble, taking ownership of certain things. Like I'll say exceptional talent because he can do one or two things very, very like at an elite level. He can do one or
Yeah,
two things at that level, and he's still developing the rest of his game.
right. Um, so another question I have for you, another player I have for you, RJ Barrett.
That's a tough one. Um, I would call him. I'll put him between exceptional talent and all star currently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, what I've seen from him is consistency starting to creep up,
starting to
which is
creep up.
good.
Yeah,
Which is good. Um, so before you would get these random performances from him, but now it's starting to. I think because of the drop off in Randall, he's been asked to come on. It's time for you to show why we
Yes.
believe in you. Now is the time to show that you have that consistency, and that's a good step forward because, as I said, the guys in his draft class have really taken off. So it's now or
Yes.
never
This
for
guy.
Barrett, because I think if he doesn't, or if he didn't this season, the Knicks are probably going to be looking at, guys like now. Keep in mind, he is easily still in the top four from his class. Okay,
Yeah.
from his draft class, he's easily top four, right? I still think Zion overall, when you look at how Zion plays, Zion is a better player still at this moment, right? The last time he
Yes.
played, that is, Ja Morant. But there's really not many others. Kobe White and others have not really taken off like that, and they're not consistent. They don't even start for the team. So I would definitely say, that Barrett is definitely up there. So um, I thought the New York bias was gonna come in. That's why I pushed that one out
No,
there
I
to
took my I
see.
took the hat off already.
All right, all right, all right. I see that. I see
I'm not
that.
gonna be biased.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you another New York guard though. Frank uh, Netlinkina. Is that how you
Yeah.
pronounce it?
Just take to remove the T is Nilikina.
Nelikina.
Yeah,
Okay,
Nilikina.
right. Where would you
Uh
place him? Because
damn.
he's coming off the bench right now, right? To give you guys a spark, right?
He's um he's an NBA player.
Right.
He's an NBA player.
Okay.
Because you gotta have one to be an NBA player. You have to have one thing that's good that you can do at an NBA level.
Right.
Well, I look at Patrick Beverly. We know
Yep.
what he does well, right? And I think Nilikina he's trying to become a 3 and D player. Um, I believe the Knicks. I believe he got traded though. I
Mm,
believe the Mavs might have him right now, but if I'm not mistaken. But basically, his defense, they put him on guards. They put him on guards to lock guards down
right.
and try to get a steal. And he does get steals.
Right.
So he has a nose for the ball. He can rebound. So I'd say, yeah, defensively, because of his defense, I think that makes him an NBA player. But he hasn't grown past that for me.
And the key thing to note here, right, is that NBA player is still very high. It's very hard to get
Yeah,
into the NBA. So I don't want you to read this like NBA player is only four from the bottom. That's not the way how this is structured.
yeah,
There's a huge gap between each. It's very hard to elevate from each from step to step. And it's like a triangle essentially where it gets very much thinner at the top. Top only has five all time. The
yes.
the blue only has about for each era of basketball. So it just tells you how really thin the top is. So there's nothing really to be ashamed about in saying that's an NBA player. That's still a compliment. Um, Malik Monk.
Mm. Malik Monk, I put him borderline. I don't know. Exceptional talent for me. I'll put him between NBA player and exceptional talent.
Okay.
Um, he's more of a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
He's more of a scorer. You're not going to see a lot of big defensive stats. You're going to see a couple threes a game.
Yeah.
He knows how to drive and score the ball. He'll dish out a couple times. But you're not going to see he's not a great passer. He's not a great defender. So I'd say somewhere between NBA. He can do a little bit of everything. So I give him somewhere between NBA player and exceptional talent.
Yeah, I would say that he's an NBA player for me.
Okay.
But he does have potential to move up.
He has
He's been
potential, yeah.
showing flashes. So I guess the team, when you're playing for a team that's really not that good from an execution standpoint, and just chemistry wise, the team that they're playing for is just not built pretty good, right? So, we don't know what we're really looking at when we see him perform. Can you do this on a consistent basis? Maybe that's the case. Maybe he is an exceptional talent.
Yeah.
but it's very hard to see it given the way the Lakers play basketball on any given night. Um,
He's making his
Lamelo,
case, though. He's making his case.
that's very true. He is,
Yeah.
he is, and I think if he can, just stays consistent, which is a word we
Yeah.
use a lot. I think it's easy to say exceptional talent.
Yes.
Um, Lamelo Ball,
Ooh, that's that is. He's a star. I'm going with a star on LaMelo Ball, um, because of the confidence, the
hmm
consistency from the jump. That's very hard to teach. The 3 point shot, the passing is almost some of the best I've ever seen. Almost like LeBron, Chris Paul, how they, this
right,
is what I when I see him pass the ball, it's so natural and it's any angle.
yeah,
That's I think that's his best skill. But I
right,
say at this point, star with the potential to be superstar.
yeah. I think
Yeah, 3 years,
he's
superstar every year.
yeah. I think he's playing at that. I think actually, so for me, it's a little different.
He's the face of the team already.
Yeah, he's the face of the team, but I think here's the thing, right? He's the face of the team. He's gonna sell the most, right, for that team. But is he the best player on that team? I don't think so at the moment.
He might not be the best player
Um,
on the team,
right.
but is he which player has the most impact on
Yeah.
winning on
Yeah.
that team?
Yeah.
It's always the passers.
And he as a playmaker, he seems to be very good. Very good. And at his age, the shots you see him taking, the risks you see him taking as a new NBA player in the league is just incredible.
6'7".
No, I think I wouldn't doubt you, but I would say it's a mixture of all star and star. For me, he's on that
Okay.
boundary.
Yes.
But based on his popularity, if we're
Yeah.
to look at that, I if we're to add these other elements to it, I think definitely he's in that area of star based on that. But if I'm just to look at his game and
Yeah.
where he is, I'll say he's playing as an all-star. I'd say
Yeah.
he's playing as an all-star. But definitely I think it's respectable what he's doing, and I think he's gonna make some waves because I mean look at the kid's age, man, as he's absorbing more information, working with coaches, working with all these other talented players. I think his game is only gonna go way up, right? And you have to keep in mind, because it was the pandemic, right? A lot of these camps that these guys normally go to were severely disrupted, right? The way they were handling things. So a lot of these players that were drafted over the last 2 years during the pandemic, you have to give them credit for the performances they've put out because honestly, it has been nothing close to normal in relative to other seasons that other rookies have had to go through.
Yeah.
So to play like that is commendable. You have to give it to them. You know, no, that's good. I've got another player for you here. That for me, Dennis Schroeder.
Mhm. Schroeder.
Yeah,
Ooh. Exceptional talent.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I I think that's fair. I think that's fair. We've seen him do things on a court that have made you wonder, right? And um, it's kind of unfortunate when he joined the Lakers, right? Because he rejected 80 million over 4 years.
Yep.
And I think it's unfortunate because he was injured during that time
Yeah.
when the injury occurred. When that injury occurred, it was going into the playoffs, and he really didn't get up to 100% to really show what he was worth. And I think Schroeder can be an asset to a team. It's just right now, it's just how do you go from 4 years, 80 million to right now you're at a point where you're on a a veteran's minimum, right? And teams don't look like they're gonna retain you. It's a harsh reality, man. You have to be so careful when you're rejecting contracts in the NBA. So that's that. What about a Marcus Smart?
Marcus Smart is an exceptional talent. Um, he reminds me. He's a taller Patrick Beverly. He is very defend like he's one of those guys that watches film on you multiple times, multiple games to see what your tells are, how to get the ball from you. I think he's a winning player. He's going to be good for a locker room. And you need guys like him. I wouldn't say he's an all star yet because to me, all star and star and everything else above is consistency. That's what an all star is, and consistency at every part of the game, defense, um, decision making, passing, all that stuff. So I still think he's lacking on some of those things. The whole Celtics is, but I still think he's lacking on some of those things when it comes to. I've watched them. I've watched the Celtics at the end of games where they're not passing the ball or taking long shots and not taking high field goal percentage shots in the very end of games and losing. Sometimes they win it that way, but most times they lose it when it's a close game and they're taking those type of shots. So I think the
Right,
decision making, like he's definitely one of those at fault for that, you know. So
right.
yeah,
I'm gonna end this segment by asking you, Derek Rose.
to put him in this list,
Yeah.
oh man,
I want to ask you Carmelo as well, but
oh
he's at the Lakers, right?
yeah. Um,
For
well,
me, for me,
th-
Melo would be superstar, right? He would be a superstar
okay,
without a doubt.
yeah. To me, Melo is a superstar.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of what he does. I wasn't watching him during the Denver days, um, but everything after that I've watched, and he's definitely solidly in superstar for me.
Yeah,
Um, Derek Rose is, I'd say, between star and superstar for me, um, just because of what he accomplished at that young age,
right.
and coming back and the impact. Let me tell you something. What happened with the Knicks last year? A big chunk of the responsibility for getting to becoming fourth in the league was Derrick Rose. Alfred Payton was not. That was like the that was really the defensive point guard, but the real point guard was Derrick Rose. The only reason he didn't start is because they wanted to save him from injury, save him for the playoffs. But
So I would put Rose right here, somewhere around here,
yeah, so would I.
right at that boundary,
Yeah.
but in the superstar area, but
Okay.
right at that boundary. I'll put him
Yeah.
on this line here, right on this line. You know what we may have to do? I may have to keep editing this, like just add the names, so we see where we've put past players before. So I think that's
Oh, you know
something.
what? Just put a little let's put a number and keep a list, man. Put a little
Abs-
one, and that's some,
Absolutely.
one and have a list so you can check what one who's one.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's what I'll have to do, to be honest. But no, that's good, man. That you were able to get through that. And where would you put yourself, man?
yeah. Should not be in the league.
Yeah.
Not even
Oh
a G
man.
League. I'm not even putting myself in the G
No,
League.
no, that's
Yeah.
that's understood, man. That's understood.
Yeah.
No, 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 that's good. So ultimately, what I'm hoping is that we could get you back on here, uh, with the co-host, and we could have a deeper conversation as we enter the playoffs, because these playoffs are going to be something else. Um,
Mm,
I think it's going to be
that'd be
exciting. I
great.
think
That'd be
different
awesome.
teams. It's unfortunate that the Knicks are not again in the conversation, but my
So
Bulls are. So you can always,
I love the Bulls. I
yeah,
call them
yeah,
out.
yeah.
I called it out early in the season.
That's right.
I said
That's
these
right.
Bulls
That's
are going to
right.
be good.
That's right.
The Rosen
My
is a closer. Remember I talking about clutch? The Rosen
my
is
the
clutch.
problem with the Bulls though
The
is
center, man.
they are
The
0 and
Bulls.
13 against the top 3 teams in every conference right now.
It's the center. It's the
Yeah.
center is a problem, man. They need
So
Vucevic is a defensive liability. They
yeah,
don't have a backup.
yeah. They
Patrick Williams is still injured, I believe.
they
That
need
was the
they yeah they need someone like I would say go to New York, try to get Mitch Robinson out of there.
oh my god!
You know,
That would be like
try.
say hello Eastern Conference Finals. Say hello Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, that man
Yeah,
is
yeah.
he is
You need a shot stopper or something in
yeah
there.
yeah yeah. Yeah.
Um,
He's very he's very good.
yeah,
Very,
that's what they need, I think.
yeah.
But we'll see. I don't think he would leave the Knicks, to be honest. But it'd be interesting to see if they can fill that
But
void because yeah, they need a defensive big.
I mean, if you can't get that, you know the guy that the Suns got,
Javale.
JaVale McGee,
Yeah, yeah.
underrated,
The
underrated. Like
Lakers. When I saw
Chris
him
Paul
leave
saw
the
it.
Lakers,
Chris Paul saw it in the playoffs. He saw it.
I could not believe they let this guy walk from
It's
the Lakers, man.
ridiculous. They
Unbelievable.
Oh my God, I love
Unbelievable.
JaVale McGee is very underrated, man. Do you know
Unbelievable, man.
Aiton was injured this season, and JaVale McGee came in and gave Aiton numbers until Aiton come back?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like he could do this,
yeah. Easily. Easy.
man.
And the thing is, he has a better mind for the game now. So,
Yes, he does.
it's expand. He's a champion. He's an NBA
Yeah,
champion.
yeah,
For a reason. He played to me, him and Dwight, they interchanged them a lot in that run.
yeah.
But it's just mind blowing that they allowed those players to leave for a Gasol. It's just mind boggling, to be honest. But such is the league, and that's why the Suns have so much talent on their roster, man.
We talk about small ball. I remember when the Heat was facing the Lakers,
Yeah,
and the Lakers ended up having a better small ball lineup than the Heat
right.
did. And I would like to say that, sometimes we go away from centers and we say, these centers are too slow. We don't want a center. Let's get a small ball lineup. Golden State does it all the time.
Yeah,
Why can't you get a fast center? Like
just
we
get a
look at
fast center.
get a
Yeah,
fast center, get a mobile center. Like I'm looking at JaVale McGee as that
yeah,
guy. Like JaVale McGee was flying up the court faster than some guards. Quick to like
yeah,
when he jumps to block his
yeah.
shot, he's back up again. So you need a fast twitch center that
When
can keep up with the small ball.
when he was on the Lakers, when he was on the Golden State Warriors, right? There were
He did
times
it
where he
too.
was laterally moving and guarding LeBron James. So for you to know that and for you to, to not recognize that issue is something else. You know, um,
That was
unbelievable,
bad. That was
unbelievable,
really bad to let him
unbelievable.
go. No one should let that
Palenka,
guy go.
Palenka, man, Palenka. But I'm happy that I support LeBron, but I'm happy that I live in Chicago, so I don't have to deal with that stuff happening over there. It's just unfortunate that you see a legend, a living legend, that's coming closer and closer to retirement, going through this,
Yeah,
with a roster. So yeah, it's
37 and still top five in the league, man.
crazy, crazy,
I
crazy.
mean, that's good news for
A lot
30
of
somethings
players
like us.
getting older, man.
For
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
that's good news
Or
for us,
even,
man.
or even, us in our
Yeah,
fields or whatever we do,
yeah.
right? Yeah, I still got it. Still got it.
That's
Even
right.
though. But no, no, no. It's what we'll do is because we plan on doing brackets for college, and we plan on
Okay.
doing, I would say the NBA playoff brackets as well in the group. So we'll definitely have you in there. We
Yeah.
plan to hopefully I could get you back with a panel so we could discuss a few things. But definitely you're gonna be back before the end of the month is done here. So
That's when I
looking
get to
forward
prove
to
if
that.
I was right about
Yeah,
Embiid and about the brackets. Let's
yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But no, it should be good. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. And of course, we shall be back. Look out for us later this week. And we'll try to get Leron back on here on a panel so that we can chop it up and talk basketball, maybe even some fantasy, how that's
Yeah.
going, the type of decisions made there. That should be an interesting
Mm.
conversation. I know you've been working your way up, you know, but definitely, we'll try to definitely get you back on here so we could chop it up a bit. All right.
All right. Thank you so
Hey,
much. Thanks for having me.
shout out to Kyron Batiste, by the way, for says he's late, man. Yeah, you're late, man. You missed Kyrie's 60 tonight, stat padding. You missed Leron discussing the Knicks and what's wrong with the Knicks. He rated a couple players, for us here. But yeah. But we're about to close. We'll be back soon, but definitely Kyron, we're looking forward to have, maybe we could have a large panel, to discuss what's been
Kyron, that's why you
happening
can
in the
go
league.
back. That's why you can go
Yeah,
back and watch the
yeah,
whole thing.
definitely. But we want to thank you for joining us here today,
It was a pleasure,
and
man. Thanks for having
definitely
me.
yep, appreciate it, and we'll definitely pull you back in so we could talk some of that stuff. I know there's a debate brewing, right? Because we gotta let me
For
tell
the
you
song for
some
the
of the
Knicks
debates that
fans.
need to be clarified here. Kyrie's skill level. We've
Yeah.
been told that Kyrie's the most skilled basketball player of all time,
Hmm.
which I yeah, I have some questions there. And then who's a better player between Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown? Um,
That's big.
we,
That's big.
we yeah, we have other questions like who is the outright best player in basketball right now?
Oh,
Not
that's big.
greatest of all time. We're not gonna go
No,
there,
not
but we want to
MVP.
talk
The
right.
best.
Not MVP, the best basketball player
Yes.
in the league right now.
Yes.
And so we're gonna bring in a panel to discuss those things. We want to narrow it down. We want to really chop it up, see what people come with. So we'll have those points given out, and then we'll come in and we'll debate it, and see how things go. So look out for that. We'll try to get that before the end of the month. We have a summer break coming, that's going to start before the playoffs. So all these shows are going to be crunched in before the end of the month, folks. So tune in for that, and stay tuned, okay? So Leron, I'm looking forward. It's bye, but I'm trying to get you back on here. I noticed the Knicks hat is back on,
Yeah, that's what
but
the late fans coming in. I'm putting that on for them.
but yeah, definitely
It's a hard
we'll
life, but.
we'll try to spark some debates on that next panel coming. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to the Collective Bargaining Podcast. Thank you very much.